friend, and thanks very much for joining us today for the latest episode of the Kinetica Talking with Titans. If you could give us a brief background to yourself, how you developed into the swimmer that you currently are, as opposed to going down the boxing route.
But only all of my dad's side of the family are quite good boxers. My three cousins, they'd be like professional boxers, like loads of Irish titles from amateur. And I asked my mum that why I never went boxing, and they were like, my mum didn't particularly want me to. And apparently the deal was like, if I asked to go to the club, I could go, like, but my dad wasn't to bring me unless I asked, and I suppose I just never asked, like, to join the boxing. Then we just happened to live beside the pool in Balroddy in Tala. I suppose from a really young age, I got working with poor Kenny, the Tala swimming coach. It was literally just like doing lessons, except with the head coach of the swimming club. I always said, like, it was 2004. That was like the first Olympics I remember with Michael Phelps. That was the first time I would have seen swimming as a sport rather than just something you do once a week. I always remember thinking, like, over the years, so say kind of as a really young 9, 10, 11, I started noticing I was kind of the best of the group in the swimming. And meanwhile, I was only kind of one of the lot on my football team and stuff. So by the time I was about 13 or 14, I kind of realised, like, look, I'm actually quite good here swimming. So I naturally started leaning towards it. Now I'm here. So I've always loved it. I haven't always been great now. I was quite good really young. And then I had kind of a few years when I was a teenager where I was pretty, I don't know, not great, like, do you know what I mean? And now I speak to a lot of like young swimming clubs and stuff. I always kind of stress to them that, like, I really wasn't very good at about 14, 15. I mean, I remember my junior cert somewhere being like, you you half tempted and be like, am I bothered, do you know what I mean? Am I bothered going back? But luckily I stuck to it, and then I did have a big leap about 16, 17, and then it kind of became like, look, we're actually good, like, do something good here. Like, I went from just whatever to like, wow, this is actually a reality. I could actually try for the Olympics.
What sort of took you to the next level?
After my junior cert, I was still training in Tala, like where it would have started when I was really young. I remember the new national centre in the aquatic centre was set up, and a couple of my friends were swimming there and stuff, but they were like they were a lot better than me at the time as like age groupers. I remember them asking me, being like, look, you should give it a go. But like, this was a huge commitment. I remember there was a big conversation being like, look, if you want to do it, we'll support you. I had to kind of decide. I think originally I wanted to do like 3 sessions out in Blanchardstown and then do the rest of them just in Tala, so like a little bit. And the head coach out there, Paul Donovan at the time, he came back and was like, the only option is to do all 9 sessions, so 9 swims in the pool, 2 hours each, and 3 gyms, and you can do it for a month and see how you get on. So it's pretty much on a trial. Luckily, I took it, and I remember sitting there thinking, being like, look, whatever chance I have of this kind of Olympic dream, because at the time it wasn't realistic. I wasn't even competitive at under 15 level, you know what I mean? Like, never mind trying to become an Olympian. But I still remember kind of that dream from being a kid, sitting there thinking, look, if I have a chance, this is the chance I have to take at it. And I suppose looking back on it, it was obviously the best thing I did, because within like that 2 years, I just improved so much. I went from, like, say, not even medaling, not even making finals at like my age group level in Ireland to like literally 18 months later. So at 17, I was 5th at my European juniors, and all of a sudden an Irish senior record holder at like 17. So yeah, no, like, I went from strength to strength, and I'm so delighted I made that.
You were very honest in your recent interviews of how you struggle to motivate yourself. How are you coping really at the moment now through this lockdown?
At the moment, I'm quite lucky. I'm pretty much in my normal routine. I've been back swimming since late June, early July. And although, like, there's not much to do, obviously, outside the pool, but in a sense, it's kind of given me an opportunity. It's hard to get yourself to that position where all you really care about is just going swimming, and you're nearly enjoying just the idea of going training. And it's what you look forward to every day. I'm probably having the best training blocks since I've been about 17, honestly. Like, I think it's just down to the fact that I've no distractions, and I'm motivated now. But I will say, like, during the lockdown, I was really not motivated. We were given like Zoom calls to wake up for it. And I wasn't even early, like, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning to do like a little circuit or something. And then we were meant to do like gym on the odd days and stuff. But I remember, like, I'd be going to sleep at 5 in the morning, waking up at 10 in the morning, like half bottom doing the circuits, and I just wasn't really up for it. But I kept just thinking, look, it's normal not to be motivated. I did notice, like, the more exercise I did, the better mood I was in, and I think it gives you something to do, and I suppose it clears your mind, doesn't it?
I was just watching a clip of you earlier on. It was like a day in the life. I think you mentioned that you were doing 3 training sessions a day. How does nutrition play a role in recovery after each session?
You can't be slack on your meals. Like, so I usually do this big kind of just like a little overnight oats thing. I'd usually have whatever cereal, and then make sure I have like a little shake and that big porridge thing after the swim, because then we go into the gym right after the pool. I make smoothies a lot, honestly. It's my new little trick. I just get loads of oats, like frozen berries and some whey, like honey, milk, and just make a big liter thing of a smoothie. And pretty handy to go down. You don't feel really sluggish after them. Like, as I've always said with nutrition and stuff, I've got good habits. Like, I don't really have to think about it. Like, I just have my habits.
For a sort of a young individual that's probably going from into a full-time training setup with swimming. And when you go and speak to schools, what would be 3 good habits that you would tell them about?
Always have like a little recovery snack after a session. That's a habit. Like I wouldn't even think of that. And whether that's like a protein shake and a banana or whatever, like a chocolate milk or something like that. Always have something right after a session. Like carbs with good timing right before a session. It's just energy that you're going to use up. So don't skip breakfast. Remember to get your meals in before training.
Would you be able to offer insight as to sort of the demands of the training session, particularly on maybe a triple day session, in terms of the energy demands and sort of your calorie intake and stuff?
In a tough session, we could be a solid 60 minutes at like at least a 150 heart rate. It could be 1,000 calories a session. You just have to learn how to understand what your body's going to use. It's just important to fuel yourself. We always say like abs don't win the Olympics. Yeah. And although it's exciting getting a great photo being all musty and all, but like realistically having a 6-pack, it's not the biggest performance indicator. Do you know what I mean? In sport, you can look great and serve yourself, but you're not. Performance is about balance. And being fueled is more important than being lean, or for swimming at least. Like, do you know what I mean?
In terms of the Olympic dream, there's a chance that you'll have to participate in events behind closed doors. Without a crowd or people there cheering you on, I'm sure it's going to be quite difficult. How will you motivate yourself?
Kind of COVID kicked off back in March. We were actually at the airport on our way to Edinburgh for like a British International, which was like our last preparation competition before what would have been the Olympic trials in Dublin. So we literally went from the airport about to race, all excited, to back to Dublin. And then our coach was like, right, we're ready to race. So we'll race in the aquatic centre because the pool was still open for like a week or so after kind of all that kicked off. And I remember straight away being like, gee, like, wow, I'm really not bothered. Like, I don't lack motivation, you know what I mean? But at that point, I remember as soon as it was announced we weren't going anywhere, and I was like, yeah, wow. I remember we did time trials, like, and now some of the lads were fine, like some people were fine, but I was dreadful. But I remember saying, I was just honest, the coach was like, look, I'm really I've just dropped motivation so much since realising this is not going to happen, you know what I mean? And that's obviously what most of my lockdown was like. But then we did come back in June or July, and we trained for a little bit of time, and then we did another competition in August just to see it off before we had like another 2 weeks off kind of thing for the summer. And I remember again, I was fairly dreadful, and I wasn't quite as unmotivated, but I suppose I realised then I was someone who I do like a competition, like, and I suppose like my best performance to date is in the World Championships. I was 11th in the semi-final, so I think I was 5th in my own. I'm still getting beaten by a lot of people, but I just remember the buzz of being surrounded by literally the best in the world, like, and obviously 20,000 people and pretend they're all cheering for me. But I just remember thinking of that, being like, what has it happened? What's come to now? Like, so August again, I still struggled, but then after the 2 weeks off, I kind of get my mind right, and I remember being like, look, this is the reality, and you're gonna miss an opportunity, and there's so much gone into it. You know what I mean? It's not just this year. Since I've been a little kid, so I was like, look, get your head around this, because you're probably gonna have to race behind closed doors. So look, since September, I've been really good, and I have been kind of, even in training, I've been trying to kind of imagine myself. So in the middle of a session, being like, look, this is what it's going to be like. It's going to be you and just you in the race, in the pool, maybe 2 or 3 lads around you. So I'm getting there. I raced really well in December. I set like a new record on my 100 meter, and then I was pretty close to my 200. And then we're practicing. So we were racing there last weekend, and we're doing it again this weekend. Just little practice competitions to get ourselves ready. Yeah, no, I do think I'll be in good headspace for it. That's what it's going to be. We're going to be racing by ourselves. But no, I like everything. You've practiced at it, and we've been practicing since August to try and get ready to perform without a big stage. And yeah, no, I'll be ready. I'm excited.
And obviously then with the support from the guys at Swim Ireland as well, it's obviously a very tight support structure for you there to be able to rely on them if and when need be.
It is deadly, and that's kind of the biggest thing I noticed since Ben Nixon came in. Like, obviously I did do really good things with the previous coach. Like, as I said, I went from kind of being a boy with a little idea to, well, this is reality. But then since then I did struggle for a couple of years, and I suppose the biggest thing since Ben's come in and the whole support team is like, it's just more consistency. Like Ben said to us, he's like, all I want is 7 out of 10 every day. So we don't need 10s or we don't need 2s. That's what he said. So you just show up, be professional, basically do your job. But we try and kind of flatten the curve. We don't go crazy, don't go too low, don't just consistency across time, and then you get results. Since he came in 2018, I think I've literally PB'd every single targeted meet since then. So like, look, he's done something right, so I trust him. Like, I don't have to worry about the plan. He'll make the plan. That's what he always says. He says, look, I'll make the plan for you. You just show up and give me 7 out of 10 every day.
And in terms of your other ambitions then for 2021, you'll have the Irish Championships, hopefully, with possibly in April time. So you're working towards that now at the moment.
Well, it's the first of the Olympic trial opportunities, which it's always been the plan anyway. I know there's a couple of more chances now they've announced since COVID, and they changed up the criteria a tiny bit. But for me, it doesn't really change much. April's always been the plan, and it still will be the plan. I mean, look, I'm excited. I'm training really well. I'm really enjoying it. I kind of have myself in a mindset that, like, look, each good day I do is unbelievable, but it's like, just forget about it. It's a 7 out of 10, put it in the bank, and then that's it. And then we come back in tomorrow and we do the same again. All I'm thinking about is each day, each week. Do you know what I mean? I'm not thinking too far ahead, because I kind of know that if I can continue the block for another 10 weeks, I think I'll have the opportunity to do something special.
The environment itself, you know, is obviously has to be a positive environment.
Although people say swimming's an individual sport, like, with the amount we rely on each other in training, like, it's crazy. Because, like, say I come in one day and I'm feeling tired and I'm a bit flat, and then if you have 2 of the lads or 3 lads kind of reel up for it and going after it, they nearly take it on their back. And the same as me, if I feel all the other lads are a bit flat, like, I can kind of step up the group and then they'll all pick it up with me. So we do rely on each other a lot, and you have to, because we put in a lot of hours. Do you know what I mean? Like, so say Monday, like, we did a triple session, and we had like 7K in the pool, a gym, and then another 7K. And then we wake up Tuesday morning at 6 o'clock, everyone's in bits, and we have to go again. So, and it's stuff like that. You do rely on your teammates. This morning I was pretty struggling, but I just kind of keep solid, and then the group will carry me along. Do you know what I mean? And it was the same last week. There was a session, one of my main kind of training partners was a bit flat, like, and I kind of just got, I'm going, and that's what we do. We do work together, and that's kind of the really biggest thing. That's the good thing about having a decent sized group and everybody kind of similarly focused. We can rely on each other. We can't take on each other's backs. It's good.
Got some quick fire questions here that I'd just like to throw at you. And I think I know what the first answer is going to be on this one. Ronaldo or Messi?
Oh, Ronaldo.
Yeah. Cardio or weights?
Weights.
Upper body or lower body?
Upper body.
Sprints or 10K?
Sprints. Although I'm probably better at 10K sprints. So.
Peanut butter crunchy or smooth?
I'll say smooth, just because it's a bit awkward spreading crunchy on time.
It takes half the bread with it. Cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs.
Squats or push-ups?
Push-ups.
Twitter or Instagram?
Instagram, but I like football Twitter now. Football Twitter is quite entertaining.
Lose your cap during the race or snap your goggles just before the start?
Oh, lose your cap, definitely. Like.
Quiet night in or a night out?
If I wasn't training, definitely a night out.
Swim in shark-infested waters or sewage?
Oh, what? Probably sewage, because, like, I'd be a bit scared of the sharks and stuff. Like, I don't know. Like.
I don't know. I think I'd take my chance of swimming in shark-infested water. To be honest with you, I'd be doggy paddling. I wouldn't be doing anything else. If you're an animal, what animal would you be?
Maybe a dog. Like, dog would be good fun. Like,
yeah.
Everyone likes you and stuff, and yeah, just chill out for the day.
Your most embarrassing moment in a swimming pool?
It was my first senior competition. I was about 14, like, and I was out on the sideline. It was down in Limerick as well, so it was a big deal traveling down and all. And yeah, I fell in, like, literally taking marks, me jumped in, and like, it was so early that nobody went, so I had to like come up and just walk off. Yeah, that was a bit embarrassing.
The final one, if you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
I'd reassure myself that, like, look, chase what you're passionate about, because to find the most success or whatever, happiness, and if you're chasing something you're passionate about, I suppose for any kind of kid growing up, find something you love, like, and kind of chase it, you know what I mean? And don't be afraid to go for them, you know what I mean? Because that's a big thing for me. Like, I was looking back, it didn't make sense that I wanted to go to the Olympics, you know what I mean? I'm pretty close now, obviously, fingers crossed I'll go as well, but yeah, no, if I told myself 10 years ago that I'd be doing this now, I'd be a bit like, well, it's not. So yeah, that's cool. Follow your dreams.
Brendan, I have to say I've really enjoyed the conversation with you, and you've been very open. So look, thanks a million for jumping on, and the wrap for this episode of Talking with Titans.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.